Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Beth. The channel is Soul Standing and I'm here today to talk to you about a new book. Okay, so this is Faerie by Eisha Majara. Here we go. This is written by a Canadian author. This is her debut novel, but not her debut work. She has written, produced, and directed several films and television shows. So this is the first of her novels, but not even close to the beginning of her foray into words. So Faerie is 145 pages long. It was published in June by Arsenal Pulp Press, and they kindly sent me this copy for review. Now, this book is set up into three different sections. The first section is entitled Pupa, and it takes up the first 20 pages. The second section is entitled Nymph, and it takes up the next 50 pages. And then the final 70 pages is a section entitled Metamorphosis. And within these different sections, we meet Lila, who is an 18-year-old Indian girl. Her parents are Punjabi and have immigrated to Canada from India, and in Canada had Lila and her sister Meena. So Lila is a dark Indian girl who is surrounded by white French Canadians, basically. And so she goes to school and meets all of these little blonde, redheaded, fair-skinned kids, and she realizes that they are very beautiful, and she doesn't feel as beautiful as they are. And so she starts thinking about size at like the age of 5. She's at the beginning of the book, she's obsessed with Barbies, as are a lot of 4 and 5-year-olds. But her ideas of fairy tales, fairies, Barbies, they kind of stick with her. And so at the age of 18, she has found herself in an insane asylum, basically. She's in a hospital because she is severely anorexic and has been so stringent on her caloric intake and exercise regimen that she weighs 65 pounds and collapses. And so they take her to the hospital, and she is doing everything she can not to gain any weight. And they're just trying to shove food at her all the time, and she's not having any of it. And throughout reading that story, we get kind of flashbacks to her childhood, and we kind of find out a little bit more about why she is the way she is, what she's doing, things that have caused her to want to, as she says, slow down or stop time. She doesn't want to grow up. She doesn't want to be a woman. She doesn't want to be an adult. She wants to stay a child. And there are some really interesting reasons why that is. But I won't get into them right now. Lila is struggling with this. She has just turned 18. She feels like she is not a child anymore. She's supposed to be a woman, but she has starved herself in order to make the breasts go away and the meat on her thighs go away and her menses go away. She doesn't want them. She has a very low sexual drive, if any at all. She doesn't have any excess fat on her body. She's not having periods. She has forced her body into this very androgynous and emaciated look, and she is super proud of it, just stupendously excited about it. And she refers often to this other creature that she feels like lives inside of her called the Faerie. And Faerie has created within Lila this science project of keeping Lila alive, but as small as possible. And so Lila has seen herself kind of emerge and become this fairy that she felt like lived inside of her. And that is why she was sent to the asylum, because this fairy science project had her so emaciated she can't take care of herself. And she is a health risk. At the age of 18, they're still not allowing her to leave, even though she could technically sign the papers. She doesn't do it. And there are a lot of big reasons behind that she also has to deal with herself. Now would be the time for you to leave if you don't want to have any spoilers. However, if you don't mind spoilers, they're just going to be some light spoilers, and you can go ahead and stick around. Before you leave, though, I would like to tell you I'm going to go ahead and give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It really, really surprised me, and I'm very thankful that Arsenal Pulp Press sent this to me. Um, it was a great discussion over something that I had not really read anything else about. So thank you, Arsenal Pulp Press. So if you're here, I'm going to assume that you are okay with some spoilers, and we're just going to move on with discussing a few more in-depth details about this story. So we've already talked a little bit about how this book kind of goes back to Lila's childhood, and we see things building up into the reason why she is so stringent on her caloric intake and how she exercises and all of that jazz. But we haven't talked about what actually happens. So I don't remember how old she is. I think she's about 11. Her older cousin Monica has to move in with them because Monica's parents have been killed in a car accident. And so Monica comes and lives with them, and Lila really, really looks up to Monica. And Money just loves Lila. They are very close. They feel like they really are sisters. And so Monica kind of takes that place where she's an older sister and she can help Lila ease into this whole young adult moving into womanhood kind of phase, because Lila's mother, who is very sweet but also very Punjabi, has kind of made her feel like this whole growing up, getting your period, and all of that is something to be very ashamed of. You don't talk about it, you push it aside, you hide everything. And so the day she gets her period, her mom comes in and shows her how to do a pad and all of that. And then Monica takes her to the mall and talks to her about, this is normal, this is fine, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Every woman happens to have this, and it's how we know that we're becoming women. And she just really helps Lila kind of deal with that. But then Monica winds up moving out, and there's like this big deal, and it almost feels as though Monica is dead until a few chapters later, where she comes to visit and we find out what actually happened and why Monica is not there. However, when Monica leaves, Lila is left very bereft. She doesn't have this big sister, and she sees her father, who has adopted this child of his brother, as his own child. And this, Monica is his blood. It's his blood niece, but has adopted her as his blood daughter. And she leaves. And so it is mentioned, this child breaks her father's heart. He's seeing her leave and disobey him, and he can't do anything about it, and it's breaking him, and it hurts him so bad. And Lila helps him redo Monica's room and turn it into a library, and they paint the room and put bookcases in and just really change it completely from anything. You can never tell that Monica was there. And during that process, Lila decides she's never going to grow up. And that, coupled with some taunts and jeers and not understanding her hormonal shifts because her mother doesn't talk to her about these things and Monica is gone, kind of make Lila decide that she's going to stop time. Throughout high school and into her freshman year of college, Lila begins keeping this calorie journal where she writes down how many calories everything is worth, and it becomes so ingrained into her that she is constantly calculating the amount of calories going into her body and the amount of calories that she can get rid of by walking, exercising, whatever it is that she's doing. And so even while there is a feeding tube down her nose and they are making her eat all of these extra breads and calories, things that are making her body cramp, having difficulty even going to the bathroom, because if you're on a diet of little to nothing and it's all clear liquids and soft foods, and then you start eating the hard stuff again, everything else gets hard too, and your body has difficulty dealing with that. Throughout all of it, she is forcing herself to get up, moving the pole with her while it drips more calories into her body so that she can do sit-ups and lunges across the room, because she feels so guilty and hates herself so much for allowing these calories to be into her body. She feels like they are killing the fairy that lives inside of her. They are starting up time. She's going to become this woman. And through the whole book, she's talking about this is killing the fairy and it's making me grow up. And, you know, she doesn't know how to feel about it. She wants people to tell her what to do. And the only thing she has any control over, by her own admission and her own need, is the control over the food. And they're taking that away. And she's scared to give them control over her intake, but she's also scared not to give them control over her intake. At one point, a girl moves into the room next to Lila's, and her name is Alyssa. When we meet Alyssa, we see that she is covered in gauze on her arms. There are cuts on her face, and we are led to believe that she attempted suicide. We later find out that she has been in and out of several institutes of this nature. She has attempted to kill herself. She is a compulsive cutter, and she and Lila kind of prop each other up, and they become each other's support system. And it gets to the point where Alyssa is able to kind of go through the phases and show that she's healthier and she's doing a lot better, and she can go home. She doesn't really want to go home. And so she and Lila have a little chat and some things happen, and it is a huge catalyst to the end of the story. So I won't actually be spoiling that for you, although I'm sure you can probably infer what happens. However, Lila is able to, at that point, make a choice that she had not been able to make previously, which is that she does want to get better and she does want to be able to go home and see her family. She feels like she's killing the fairy, but maybe the fairy is really morphing into an adult woman butterfly that lives inside of her. I do want to mention that religion is mentioned once in one paragraph in this entire book. Out of 145 pages, we get to page 139, and there's a paragraph where Lila has come home for a 2-day weekend pass to kind of make sure that she can handle being out in the real world again, being with her family again. So she goes home, and her mother has redecorated the entire house, and her dad talks about how after Lila went into the hospital, her mom got super depressed, and she started going back to I can't say any of it, so if you're Indian, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to pronounce any of these things correctly, but she goes and she talks to the gurus and begins redecorating the house and really getting very super religious again. And that paragraph is the only paragraph in the entire book that discusses Indian religion at all. There's also only one place in the book where it discusses traditional Indian garb, because this family, like I said, has immigrated to Canada. So they are only in India for about 3 pages, honestly. In the entire book, it talks about Dad took a sabbatical year and they went back to India, and it kind of talks about the garb and the marketplace, but it mostly talks about something that happened there that kind of traumatized Lila from wanting to have anything to do with men. It kind of reinforced her wanting to stop time and wanting to stay a little girl. So, you know, that's basically all that is discussed about India or about their religion. The rest of the book, you can almost most of the time forget that Lila is even Indian. There are only a few mentions of her skin color, and even the cover of the book, as you can tell, is a pasty white chick. Now, I believe that this girl on the cover is probably her best friend, Alyssa, or possibly the fairy that she believes lives inside of her. I'm not 100% certain, and the paper that I wrote all of my notes on doesn't tell me anything about that. Please feel free to leave me a comment letting me know if you're going to pick up the book or if you've read it and what you felt about it. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, or even if you didn't, just give me a thumbs up anyway. Subscribe if you're new. That's all I've got for you guys, so I'll see you again later. Bye.